In comic books, no one is really gone forever. Even if a character perishes and ceases to exist, this is a place where resurrection, time travel, and alternate universes exist. But let's be honest, the best character returns belong to villains. I'm Adam Andrews with Top 10 Nerd, and this is the top 10 villain returns that we just never saw coming. But before we get on to that, let me know, what are your favorite supervillain redemption arcs? Let me know in the comments. Alright, number 10, Anti-Monitor. During the events of Forever Evil, the crime syndicate of America of Earth 3 invades the Prime DC universe, escaping the threat of their complete destruction back on their homeworld. For almost the entire comic event, the CSA all allude to the threat that destroyed their home and just how terrifying it is. The threat itself even makes a cut in the universal barriers, just trying to make its way into the Prime universe. After the CSA have been defeated in an awesome fight with Earth's villains, Superman speaks about how the threat they spoke of has to be Darkseid, and he begins preparing for Darkseid's return. But for us readers, we get to learn that the true enemy the CSA were running from was actually the incredibly powerful Anti-Monitor, who had destroyed almost all of Earth 3's reality. It's a cool reveal that leads straight into Darkseid War. Number 9, Ultron. Ultron is a villain that really just pops up over and over as he constantly reinvents himself in different ways. Now, one of his biggest reinventions was when he created an Age of Ultron, which became the name of the 2013 crossover series. Here, he finally achieved his goal of taking over the world. He created machines to hunt down anyone who failed to submit to his rule, with only a small group of heroes surviving and trying to oppose the mad Ultron. He was finally brought down by a program planted in his design by his creator, Hank Pym, after a time-traveling Sue Storm and Wolverine warned Pym of the future threat Ultron would pose. There is also his whole character arc in the MCU's What If animated series as well, which was honestly really cool to watch, and I did not expect it to go the way it went. Number 8, Armless Tiger Man. You may be wondering who the heck Armless Tiger Man even is, and you know what? That's fair. Honestly, his return is not the only thing we never saw coming, because his creation was something I never saw coming. But here we are with a German amputee with pointy ears, sharpened teeth, and enough leg strength to bend steel. He had an incredibly brief career during World War II and was eventually taken out in Wakanda by one of the Howling Commandos. But what was really surprising was when he reappeared in Incredible Hercules number 129 to 131 in 2009. He was among a group of individuals that were the Greek god Pluto's jury of the undead, and they together put Zeus on trial and subdued Herc himself. If you guys are enjoying this video, or you like this channel, make sure you drop a like to let us know that you like what we're giving you. And in number 7 is Superboy Prime. During the massive Dark Knight's Metal event, the Trinity of Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman go to a collection of 3 dark multiverse worlds that each have the 3 main crises from DC Comics happening on repeat. Only each of these worlds' crises are happening differently than they were supposed to. Wonder Woman ended up in the world where the Infinite Crisis is constantly on repeat. Only in this world, the heroes lost and Wonder Woman is met by Superboy Prime, who hasn't shown up in the DC universe for quite some time now. Now, he isn't entirely a villain, like he definitely has been, but he has always wanted the best outcome, but usually in the worst ways possible. But now, in this death metal event, he fights toe-to-toe against the Batman Who Laughs and seemingly destroys him. Or does he? Number 6, Uranos. The Eternal known as Uranos first ever appeared in Marvel What If number 24 in September of 1980, in a story that explained the origins of the Eternals. Now, in this story, Uranos is trying to convince his brother Kronos that the Eternals should use their massive amounts of power to take over the world. He believed the Eternals would best fulfill their duties if they exterminated both the deviants and humans on Earth, all life outside the universe, and then imprison the Celestials. But his brothers Kronos and Oceanus disagreed, sparking the Eternals' civil war. The war culminated in his defeat and banishment to the planet Uranus. Surprise though, this isn't actually what happened. The Uranos, who was banished to another planet, was actually a clone, and the real Uranos was banished to the Exclusion, which is where Thanos and Druig go in the recent Eternals The Heretic story from 2021. Here we are introduced to a very different looking Uranos who becomes the weapon of Druig against the mutant population in the Judgment Day event. Number 5. Magneto. Speaking of the Judgment Day event, in the X-Men Red comics, the story actually featured a whole Magneto comeback all of its own, which was incredibly awesome, and I think it deserves a mention. Magneto isn't really a full-on villain anymore. He has an incredibly complex moral compass, which makes him more like an anti-hero than anything else. He's a fan favorite, which is why it was incredibly hard to watch him get his heart completely ripped out of his chest by Uranos during Judgment. After Uranos had completely decimated the population living on Mars though, Magneto reveals that he is actually still alive, using his powers to control the iron in his own blood to keep his blood flowing. He used his power to carry on surviving without a heart. It's completely insane and totally awesome. Number 4. Dr. Doom. In 2009's Fantastic Four number 566, Dr. Doom reveals that he had actually learned everything he knows from one incredibly powerful reality warping villain called the Marquis of Death. Doom also dropped the little tidbit that the Marquis would be showing up. Only when the Marquis did show up with his new apprentice, he was less than happy with the progress Doom had made on Earth, and he attacked. The Marquis warped reality, made Doom think he had won, then snatched the victory away, set him on fire, turned his heart to stone and his blood to acid, then sent him back in time to the Pliocene age to be eaten by megalodons. The Marquis goes on to fight the Fantastic Four, almost beating them, and then, when the Marquis is on his last legs, his apprentice shows up and straight up slaps and destroys him, but not before revealing that he is actually Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom survived being eaten by a megalodon, gained enough power and dark magic to completely change his form, he became the Marquis' apprentice again, and even defeated Uatu the Watcher so he wouldn't be discovered. All of that to get his revenge and finally defeat the Marquis of Death. Number 3. Vulcan. We're going back to the X-Men Red story yet again. I'd say I'm sorry, but I kinda love this story, so I'm not. How everything happens is still being somewhat explained, but what we do know is that Vulcan is being used as a pawn on a chessboard by Abigail Brand, the director of S.W.O.R.D., which is like S.H.I.E.L.D. but in space. So basically, on the planet Mars is a mutant population called the Iraqi, and they are pretty combat focused. They decide who makes up their governing council with trial by combat. Well, when Vulcan made a play to make it onto that council in issue 3, he was very much defeated. Like, it seemed like he passed away. But it turns out that Abigail Brand either resurrected him through the mutant resurrection protocol or helped heal him, as in issue number 9 of the comic, he shows up out of nowhere again and is essentially challenging the Empress of the Shi'ar Empire, believing himself to still be their emperor like he was all those years back. Number 2. Starro. Sometimes when villains return, they don't always go back to their villainy, and they don't always come back in the way you might expect. The intergalactic conqueror known as Starro has been an enemy of the Justice League for years. He has given them a run for their money many times, and since he's been around so long, he has danced around with his morality. Well, Starro was eventually defeated and he pretty much perished. Sort of. Batman seems to have taken a part of this giant starfish and put it under his care to assist him and the Justice League with its incredible psychic capabilities. This new creation is called Starro, and he is awesome. Starro himself isn't actually completely gone, as we find out a bit later, but Starro just wants to make his dad, aka Batman, proud. He even dresses up as a Robin to try to be the best Robin ever. It's fantastic. And in at number 1, Sinestro. Sinestro is Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps' greatest enemy. He was imprisoned in the Central Battery on Oa during the events of Emerald Twilight, where Hal Jordan went completely bonkers. In a last-ditch effort to defeat him, the Guardians released Sinestro in an attempt to stop Hal Jordan from destroying the Corps, and their battle was brutal. It eventually came down to a bare-knuckle fistfight, and Sinestro drove Jordan to go over the edge and snap Sinestro's neck, taking him down permanently. But this is a list of returns. So, in a later retcon, it was revealed that the Sinestro that Jordan snapped was really a light construct, and that Sinestro and the Parallax entity were actually the ones responsible for Hal Jordan's descent into villainy. So now, all the Hal Jordan fans can rest assured their hero is still squeaky clean. And honestly, a really cool return for a really awesome villain. Okay, that's all the time I have left. I hope you guys like watching as much as I like talking. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, and until next time, peace out, nerds.